There is a subscriber who had left a couple of comments on the channel about maybe touching upon the stories that they make up in AA in the book and the stories they make up in the meetings. And I might touch on all of them. I might just touch on a couple of them. But the one that popped into my head for this one, and the reason I'm using this one is because it was a topic that was read so much in meetings, and everybody couldn't wait to jump in and share on this topic. But it's the one that where they say a friend of ours was doing a great deal of spree drinking. I mean, that right there kind of sounds a little flimsy to me. A friend of ours, you know, what are we, Cosa Nostra now or something? But a friend of ours was doing a great deal of spree drinking, and of course, he supposedly stopped for like 25 years. And when he retired, I can't even remember the exact lines of the stupid fucking book, but it says something like, out came the slippers and he was dead within a short year. And then or a short period of time, I think it says. I can't remember the exact words, but they would say that this is a big, powerful lesson. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. And of course, everybody would jump in with their made-up tale about how they went several years without ever touching a drop, and then they touched a drop, and they had DUIs and prison arrests, and I don't remember what all they would make up. You know, well, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But everybody had a story to bring up this topic, that this one flimsy story, which sounds completely made up and spur of the moment, that it was thrown in for an afterthought. Though, you know, we need a story here to sell this thing to everybody, and like this was just gospel truth. Now there's a lot to the actual tale that just sounds, like I said, flimsy as all get out. You knew a guy who just happened to be a friend, who just happened to have a drinking problem, and you just happened to know that he went for 25 years without touching a single drop. You somehow know this magically. I don't know. I mean, did he tell you that? Because anybody can tell you anything. I mean, I could tell you that I was at Woodstock in 1969. It doesn't mean I was there, does it? But this guy you knew for 20-something years, went without a drink, retired, took a few drinks, and within a few short years he was dead. Which you don't really, even with this stupid story you're telling me by reading this out of this book, you're not telling me what he died from. And even if he did die from drinking, even if this story is true, and I don't believe it is for a moment, because like I said, it's just too flimsy, it's too made up. You don't have any proof that that one little tale of a guy who went 25 years without a drink and then started drinking again and then was dead within a short period of time, that doesn't prove really nothing at all. It proves that you got a story that you told me, and that you're using the story that you told me, or that Bill W. wrote. You're using the story as some kind of concrete evidence that everybody who stays away from liquor for an extended period of time and goes back to it is doomed, based on one tale. Based on one tale that doesn't even sound like it's really grounded in any kind of concrete reality. Think of this for a moment. If, let's just say there was an activity, I can't even think of a good example for this because it sounds so pathetically stupid to me now. Take an activity that you did when you were younger, any activity, a hobby, whatever it may be, and let's say that you were away from it for a long period of time and you started to engage in that activity or that hobby again. And somebody walked up to you on the street and they said, you know, I knew a guy that was doing the exact same thing you're doing. He stayed away from that for a long, long time. And he started doing it again. And in a very short period of time, he was dead. And that to me is just a powerful lesson. Anybody who goes back to that after a short period of time, they're all going to die. Doing that's going to kill you. Would you believe him? Or would you more than likely say, what are you, fucking crazy? You're going to tell me some story about some guy. You're not even giving me any details about it. And you're expecting me to accept this as some kind of truth that doing this will get me killed. Okay, if you're going to actually make an assertion an actual assertion that one guy went this many years without boozing, started to booze again, and then just died. And that proves that everybody who stays away from booze for an extended period of time can never safely return to it. You made an assertion that could easily be debunked by me finding, let's just say, if you were going to do actual research on something like this, and of course research is, it's credited to Mark Twain. I don't know if he actually said it, that there are lies, damn lies, and statistics, and I could give you an example of that later, but if I could find so many people that said, I quit drinking for a long time, and I had a few drinks about a month or two ago, and nothing really happened, and later on I had a few more drinks, and nothing really happened, and I kind of, was over it, then your whole entire assertion based on this one flimsy story goes right out the window. Because I could find you several people maybe that said, well, I returned to drinking after a long time and nothing happened to me. And I could say, well, there it is right there. There's 5 stories right there. That's a powerful fucking lesson that people can return to normal drinking after an extended period of time. The thing that never really struck me during all of my time in AA, whenever they'd read this story and everybody had a made-up tale that they would jump in on, and they would... And they would say, yeah, this proves it. You can never return. You can never return. Nobody ever seemed to think about the fact that this is just one single story. If you were going to do research on this, you would have to find several people outside of eyewitness testimony that all died when they returned to drinking after an extended period of absence. But you got to also tell me what the guy died of. I mean, did he die crossing a street? Did he, what if a guy didn't do much exercise or work out in the gym, and he was doing the corporate thing for 25 years, and after 25 years of retirement, he looks in the mirror and he says, I want to get in shape again. I want to get back to like I was when I was younger. I neglected my health and myself for 25 years. I think I'm going to start working out again. And then he starts working out again, and then a few months later he has a heart attack. Are you going to say the working out gave him the heart attack? Are you not going to take into consideration that maybe 25 years of neglecting your health might have had something to do with it? Are you not going to take into account the fact that he may have had some kind of health issue that we didn't even know about until he keeled over dead? Or are you just going to say, well, that proves it. Working out kills you, especially if you don't work out for 25 years. You work out again, you'll die. Nobody would accept that. Nobody would accept any story like that on such a flimsy made-up thing. You wouldn't accept me saying that. I mean, if I told a kid who just got his driver's license when he was 16 years old, if it's still the legal age, I don't know if the laws have changed or not. It's been so many years. But if I told him, I know some kids who got their driver's licenses, and on the very first day they got those driver's licenses, they were all killed. That proves it. Getting your driver's license and getting behind the wheel of a car the very first day you get a driver's license, you're going to die. It's conclusively proven, 100%. You can't argue with the evidence. Would you believe me, or would you say, what are you, crazy? You're throwing me some tales about some people who got killed, and now, therefore, you're saying everybody's going to get killed? But nobody would even accept that as a scientific statement. Nobody would accept that as valid proof of any fucking thing. Unless, it was because you're in a cult that has already given you a guilt complex around drinking, that's already filled you full of anxiety and desperation and terror about the idea of drinking, the way that the cult maintains its iron grip and control over you is sending you a message that you can never leave the cult. Because if you leave the cult, you will surely die. It says it all the time in their literature, surely die. Well, we're all going to surely die one day. But if it wasn't for the fact that you were inundated with cult religion and cult guilt complexes, and for the fact of the matter is, everybody, in my opinion, now this is my own kind of assertion, everybody who's had a problem with a substance, be it booze, be it drugs, be it whatever it is, has probably thought that at one point or the other. I've thought it. I went on a drunken bender. Maybe next time it won't be a drunken bender. And I'm not so 100% sure that could have not been avoided had it not been for all the mental hang-ups and all the fucking things that was happening to me internally and externally, that I had absolutely no professional help or no way to actually objectively look at it and cope with it. All I had was cult religion to tell me that I was going to drink and die. I mean, I don't know if that's a self-fulfilling prophecy or not, and really that's beside the point these days, because I don't really want to go back to drinking anyway. I mean, I just don't, I don't feel an attraction to drinking anymore. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying that you can. I'm just saying that it doesn't mean anything to me at this point. But the idea that this is one case, this is one flimsy made-up tale that's got enough holes in it, okay, that like a worn-out rag that you could punch through and say, well, this is not really anything to take all that seriously. It just shows you how bad the cult religion gets into your brain and worms its way into you, that you would take that with any kind of anything other than several grains of salt. Now, of course, they have a couple of other stories in that same chapter. I think it's the same chapter. It's been a long time. I don't want to read the fucking big book again, but they have a couple of stories. There was one that used to really get on my nerves because everybody had a comic take on it, where this guy was sitting at a restaurant and he said, well, if I pour some liquor in my milk, it won't affect me. And of course, everybody had to tell the same joke. Well, you ruin liquor by putting it in milk. And everybody would laugh like the fucking sitcom laugh tracks about it. But again, you're talking one guy that poured some whiskey in milk, if this really happened, and he went on a drunken bender. What if I pointed out to you a whole bunch of people that went and had a drink during a real stressful situation, and they didn't go out on a drunken bender? Then this whole story that you're basing the foundation of your whole silly program off of, this whole story is thrown out the window. Completely and totally thrown out the window. It's just strange to me looking back on it now that I would actually hear somebody talk about some guy who went 25 years without boozing, started boozing and died, and even take that as some kind of proof of something. I mean, and statistics themselves, yeah, they can be argued with and they can be manipulated. Look, if I wanted to, I could, and I'm not interested in doing this, but if I wanted to, I could put together a whole bunch of articles, a whole bunch of scientific papers, and then I could get up and I could say on YouTube or wherever the fuck, I could say, all these people have been smoking marijuana for decades, and they're all having productive, happy lives, and it's not causing them any problems. A lot of people in these studies said that it helps their arthritis pain, it helps their autoimmune, it helps their depression, their anxiety. It's good for you, is what I could say. And somebody else will come along, and they'll have a bunch of papers, and they'll have a bunch of statistics, and they'll say, well, these people smoke marijuana, and they all had terrible lives, and this happened, and they got hooked on heroin, and marijuana is a gateway drug, and so this conclusively proves that it's 100% bad for you. And those 2 points could get put on the internet, and you know who people are going to believe? They're going to believe the one that they want to believe. If you kind of lean in the direction of marijuana don't hurt nobody, you're going to say, yeah, that guy's making sense. Those people with arthritis, they're feeling better, and those people with anxiety, they're feeling better. He's the one that's telling the truth. If you're one of these people that believes, like the old 1980s days where, marijuana is Satan, and, it's a gateway drug, and you see one of those commercials where the kid's smoking a joint, and he has somehow or the other, like, irreparable brain damage and dies. If that is your inclination, you're going to listen to the other guy, and you're going to say, well, he's got the facts, he's got the figures, he's got the statistics, it's 100% true, marijuana is a gateway drug, and it will do this to you. You're going to believe kind of what you want to believe anyway with a confirmation bias, and that's kind of how the statistics things work. Now, we're talking about statistics, we're talking about studies, we're talking about actual articles written by doctors and things that you would be looking at to try to back your case up. AA people are talking about one tale about a guy who went 25 years and drank again and died. That's their study. That's their one study right there, is a story. And that story conclusively proves that nobody, nowhere, anywhere in the world can go for any period of time without alcohol and return to it without dying. I remember one of these YouTube personalities, or whatever they call these people. I don't know. There's these, the gurus or whatever political allegiances that follow them. But he said nobody ever quit smoking cigarettes unless they had a spiritual experience. Well, that's easily, that was one thing. I don't remember where it was. I'm almost positive it was in some kind of debate or something. I don't follow that shit, but I remember the person trying to respond back to him with all this philosophical horse shit. And I was just sitting there at the time I heard this, and I thought to myself, well, that's easily disproven. Just find me all the atheists out there, the non-spiritual people that quit smoking, and this whole entire assertion goes out the fucking window. I mean, it seems to me that this should be self-evident, that somebody making a statement is just a statement. Words on a book are just that, words on a book. I could make a statement right now, and if you accept that as absolute truth without doing any research in it, I mean, you're just accepting my statement as absolute truth. What if I said it's a known fact everybody who wears hats still has a full head of hair? It's just known. Everybody who wears a hat still has a full head of hair. Are you going to believe me because I made some silly statement like that? I mean, take away the fear, take away the anxiety, take away the terror that AA has already instilled in you, and you wouldn't pay this story any attention whatsoever. Okay? Anyway, that's 16 minutes and 37 seconds at this point, and there's really not much more I can add without wandering off into the territory of just blabbering and listening to myself talk. So until next time.